Hello, and thank you for watching this March 1st weather update brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I am the Senior Atmospheric Scientist and co-founder at Agrible. Just as we talked about last week, February's weather has been a tale of two halves. While the West Coast enjoyed spring-like warmth, numerous locations east of the Mississippi River have set all-time records for low temperatures. Some records have not just been broken, but obliterated. For example, several locations in the heart of the Corn Belt in Illinois broke daily low temperature records by 10 degrees or more. Out east, February's cold has set all-time records as the coldest February on record, and some of these records go back into the late 1800s. As we talked about in last week's video update, there were three systems to watch across the United States this past week. As the eastern two-thirds of the country dealt with record cold on Monday and Tuesday, a low-pressure system spread significant snow and ice across southern states and rain along the Gulf Coast. This provided much-needed precipitation to this region, which had seen some patchy drought-like conditions this winter. In bigger news, though, the central Rocky Mountains have benefited from upslope flow from the east, which has brought several feet of snow to parts of Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. This is best seen in this map, which shows the percent of normal precipitation over the past week. Focus on how the large section of the Intermountain West saw in excess of 400% of their normal precipitation. Last week, I stressed how important this system would be to building the snowpack out west, as water resources in the west rely on meltwater from these mountains in the spring. While this snow won't provide a complete recovery from the lack of snowpack, it will certainly help. Speaking of snow, the final system we forecast in the last video update sent February out with a bang across several regions in the United States. In the heart of the Corn Belt, central Illinois received a somewhat unexpected dose of snowfall. Model forecasts for this region were predicting around a 4 to 6 inch snow event, but cool temperatures and ideal conditions aloft led to a sustained snow event which dropped nearly a foot in some regions. Here's a radar animation of this system on Sunday, March 1st. We can clearly see the extent of the Gulf moisture as it spread snow and ice across the mid-Mississippi and Ohio River basins. As a side note, these last two winter storms have briefly covered some part of every state in the United States, except for Florida, with snow. Out west, much-needed rain has spread through Southern California, where drought is at its worst. Here's a look at the latest USDA Drought Monitor map, and we can see that California is still very much in the grip of an historic drought. The good news for Southern California is that the snow over the past 5 days in the mountains near the Four Corners will help erode the slight drought that has formed there. Also, we saw improvement in several of the southern states, as well as areas near Arkansas and Kentucky. Well, March 1st marks the beginning of meteorological spring, and so we need to see what the first half of March will bring in terms of temperatures and precipitation. Starting first with precipitation, here's an animation of the next 10 days of precipitation as forecast on Sunday by the GFS model. Through Wednesday, there are two significant precipitation events to watch closely. Starting in the west, we can see that more snow is forecast to fall in the central Rocky Mountains, while the west coast remains rather dry. Focusing on the eastern third of the country, another large winter storm is forecast to push across the country, bringing another round of mixed wintry precipitation. There's a lot of concern over this system as it will bring rain to regions with a lot of snow still on the ground and significant ice and snow to points further north. As we watch this system form in Colorado and then build to the east, there is potential for a large freezing rain event out ahead of the low across parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa Monday night into Tuesday morning. This map shows the probability of at least 1/100th of an inch of ice accumulating through Tuesday morning, which will likely cause issues with travel as the day begins. At this point, it is unclear as to how Tuesday's temperatures will evolve. Our two most reliable forecast models are split on the decision as to whether the temperatures will warm enough to go over to an all-rain event by midday or stay cool enough for significant ice accumulations. This system will need to be watched very closely. Behind this system, another blast of Arctic air pushes into the Midwest by Thursday morning, which will once again threaten to break low temperature records. Of greater concern is that this Arctic front will bring a shallow blast of cold air that will once again create ideal conditions for icing from Texas to North Carolina. Watch this system closely as the week continues and Thursday approaches, especially if you live in the states that have a lot of pink and purples on this map. I do have good news for those of you wishing winter would just end. Forecast models have been consistently forecasting warmer air returning to the Great Plains and Midwest by mid-March. We can see the start of this warmth in this 8 to 14-day outlook for temperatures. If we focus on the evolution of the temperature forecast in Champaign, we can look at how temperatures changed through March 17th. This graph shows the return of Arctic air on Thursday, but it also shows the gradual and welcomed warm-up in temperatures once next week arrives. This warm-up has been consistently forecast for the past 5 days, too, which gives us a lot of confidence in the eventual return of warm weather to the mid-part of the country. In next week's video update, we will once again take a long-term outlook on the weather to see what planting conditions will look like as April and May approach. We will also take another look at the current El Niño and determine its role in the 2015 growing season. As always, we at Agrible will bring you the latest and best weather forecast information through our morning farm report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and we hope you look forward to our next weather update. Thank you.